that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So how long have you been at Keyano?
This is my 10th year.
Your 10th year. So you're definitely a pillar within the school and within that women's program. And you've had success, and I've watched you build that program pretty much from the ground up, the ground floor up, right? Mm-hmm. So I salute you for that. What would you say the blueprint is for an up-and-coming coach for building a program?
Well, I only can go from what I know and what I believe in. And for me, the very first thing, you have to find the right kid. And as you know, we don't always get the best kids at Keyano College.
No.
Because I look for kids that there's certain things that I want and need. There's certain part of basketball, this fundamental stuff, I can teach a kid. But I can't teach a kid to work hard. I can't teach a kid to pick up their teammates. I can't teach a kid to go to school and to think that basketball is going to be a tool, provide me a piece of paper so I can be successful in life. Those kids are a dime a dozen.
Right.
So when you look at my roster, you look at kids that are like, I have no idea where this kid come from. Leanne Torre, how many people, where's this kid come from? Nearly unrecruited coming out of high school. And as you know, 4 years in a row, first team All-Star.
Yeah.
MVP, one of the MVPs and at Nationals. Like a very, very good player. But again, there's not a lot of kids out there who can battle and can grind and have a story, right? And those are all the kids that I have. And, you know, I heard someone say, oh, you give these second chance kids and diamond and rough kids. No, not really. It's called opportunity. I took the opportunity to get to know kids. My recruiting process is not just 2 weeks. My recruiting process is 3 months, 6 months to a year recruiting these kids. It took Moya 2 years to get here because she wasn't ready yet. But when she was ready, she came.
She came.
So the very first thing for me is, you got to get the right kid. And then after that, you got to have kids who want to be challenged, want to be coached, who are flexible, who are tough, and who are open. Those are the 4 things that I look for. If you're not a tough individual, then you can't play for me, because I believe that you must win one-on-one battles. You have to be flexible. You have to adapt to all the adversity you're gonna face. And the last one is being open. Man, you got to be just open to life, open to new things. And you know, there's a lot of kids that we get now that, you know, just throw in their video, but there's no substance to it. Let's have a conversation. What do you want to do in your life? Oh, I just want to play basketball. Well, for me, that's not good enough.
Right.
You got to have more, right?
Right.
And so those are the things I'm looking for. And people say, well, that's kind of deep. But the success stuff we had is because these kids came here and they believed in what we're doing. And again, not everybody can play for me, and I'm okay with that. You have to understand that. I think that goes for every single program. I think every coach has their own set of individuals and kids and culture types that they bring into the program. The kids that I bring into my program for me are my culture type. They may not work for your program, but they're outstanding in my program.
Well said. Well said. And that goes deep. So you mentioned a few things. So and we'll start with the recruiting process. What does that look like in 2021? Like, is the kids just sending you tapes? Do you got some contacts in different places, and you just say, hey, what do you got for me? What does that look like? And once you lock in on a potential player, what are those? How do you navigate those conversations? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's tough. It's not easy. You're spending a lot of time watching video. I'm a phone guy, so I pick up kids and I call people. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to have a conversation with your parents. I want to know who you are as an individual. And then from there, I want to talk to your coach. I want to see what he has to say. You know, I want to talk to your club coach or high school coach and get a kind of a real understanding of who you are as an individual. then we go from there. The recruiting process for me, again, it's a long process. It's not, one or two phone calls. It's probably 10 phone calls, 12 phone calls.
Mm.
And I'm looking for certain things. Within the first two phone calls, if you're talking about how much money you're going to give me, then you're not a player for me.
Mm.
Right? Because I don't even talk about scholarship until probably 6 or 7 phone calls down the line. I don't even talk about it, because you being here is not about the money. You being here is adapting to the community, as you know, right?
Right.
And it's so different than being in Edmonton and being in Calgary. Fort Mcmurray is such a different place. And so I want to know who you are as an individual, because if you're not a perfect fit for Keyano College and for McMurray, you're not going to be successful here.
Yeah. Yep. Well said. So there's so many questions, because I remember what it was like for me.
Yeah.
So let's talk about money, because obviously money is a big thing with kids these days, right? When I played at St. Lawrence College in Ontario, Kingston, Ontario, we got $500 winter first semester or fall semester, whatever they call it, and $500 in a winter semester, and everything else was on us. Maybe there were some backroom deals for some of the upper echelon players. Who knows? But that was pretty much standard.
Yeah.
What does that look like now in college sports?
Yeah, in college sports now, like, everybody gets a scholarship now.
Okay, so what does a scholarship mean? Does it mean your tuition and rent is paid for, and a meal plan? Because that's what I think when I hear scholarship.
Yeah, and that's a very good question, because kids are in that United States mode where scholarship means you get rent, you get this, you get that. No, here in Canada, it's just tuition.
Just tuition.
But there's a breakdown for us, right? We have 25% of your tuition, 50% of your tuition, 75%, and 100%, right? Not everybody gets the same. And so I have to scale it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. So
scale it.
Yeah, and I don't want you to divulge too much of your stuff. I don't want to get you, because your players be calling you up, "Yo, coach, I only got 25%." No, but so it's obviously it's based on a player's skill set. You say, "Hey, this is what I'm going to give you," right?
That's untrue. It's not based on your skill set, actually. It's actually on your impact.
Break that down, brother. Break that down, coach.
There's some kids on our team who play 10, 15 minutes. But their impact on our team, not only on the bench, in the locker room, in the classroom, is immense. So those extra factors that make us successful behind the scenes, I reward kids for that.
Wow.
Those are the kids you see in the community. Those are the kids you see CCAA all academic. Those are the kids that are mentors. Those are the kids are the ones standing up, cheering, right? Those are the kids. Those kids get 100% tuition. And that's very transparent on our team. I'm not scared to say that, because those are the kids are impact. Those kids are here 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and they graduate.
Right.
Those are the kids who are talking about your program. Those are the kids who are recruiting for you. Right. And then obviously you do have the one-offs, right? You have the one-offs kids that earn the right to have, their tuition paid, or 75%, right? And every team has those kids, but, I always, like to save a few at the end, 2 or 3, for those impactful kids that no one ever talks about.
100%, man. 100%. Thank you for breaking that down, giving us a little insight, because that's the side we don't see, right? Like we see the finished product, but we don't see all of the levels that you as a coach has to get through in a different, I'll call it administrative stuff that you're taking care of on the back end that leads to the finished product, right? So thank you for breaking that down. So you talked about hard work. You talked to the coach to kind of navigate the player's mentality or personality. I want to paint a scenario for you. So as a coach, would you take a player who 5-star player, probably going to give you 25 points a game, 10 rebounds, whatever, great player statistically, but they go through the motions? Would you take a player like, would you take a chance on a player like that, as opposed to, may not be the highest skilled player, but is a hard worker, is a competitor, right? kind of like a junkyard dog type of mentality. Like, what's your preference when you're recruiting? Like, you got one spot left, and those were your options. She's a hard worker, but not really that skilled, or she's super talented, but doesn't really like. She's not a self-starter. What would you do in a situation like that?
Yeah, I think it's really situational. Like, we've had kids like that who are just these amazing kids, but chemistry-wise, they just didn't fit, right? And so, the thing that I always tell to our kids is that if we lose Moyen Toure tomorrow, are we going to be as good? No. But I believe we have 2 or 3 kids that can make up for what she did. That's how our team is built. And so the answer is yes, I would take that hardworking kid any day, every day, without a doubt. Because I don't have to teach that kid to go after the basketball. I don't have to teach that kid to pick up their teammate. I don't have to teach that kid to be a cheerleader on the bench, right? And those are impactful things that are positive for any team. And I will take that any day.
Facts. So you also mentioned living in Fort McMurray, the type of kids you get. Talk to me about the hurdles you may face being in Keyano being in Fort McMurray versus the other kids that are other schools that are in your conference, the bigger cities, more appeal, Calgary's, the Edmontons, the Red Deer. How's that been? Like, and what struggles or what hurdles have you faced in recruiting where it's like, you're probably not the top pick on the list, right? In terms of destinations.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And people kind of just look at me sideways when I answer this question. But I actually don't care. I don't compare myself to Edmonton and Calgary and the only reason is, Markus, because I grew up here. If I didn't grow up here, maybe I would have a different sense. But I grew up here being from Fort McMurray, having a chip on my shoulder, no one giving us a chance, right? I went through all those things. And so going to Edmonton and trying to recruit a kid, I know I'm not going to get the 4A kid. I know I may not get the 3A kid. But the kids that I get is that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th player on the bench that comes here, and they're, as you see, what they do for us, right? Those are the kids that I look for. So I'm looking for those 7, 8, 9 kids, right? Kids I can develop who are going to be here 3, 4, 5 years, right? Not just be a superstar, be here 1 year, 2 years, and then leave, which is okay too. But as you know, Keyano College women's basketball has been built on consistency.
Yeah.
Right? We graduate players here, right? And that's something that I'm proud of. Outside of the basketball, man, we graduate kids here, and kids are here for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? And that goes to the consistency of our program.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're successful.
Spin that block, get dizzy. Man get popped, no busy. Man get splashed from the Draco. Wet man call that drizzy. Run up. My youth.